From the city of broad shoulders, this is Chicago Unscripted. Your host, CBS News Chicago's Joe Donlan. It's kind of a big deal. Not a Bill Curtis kind of big deal, but who's counting?
Greg Kinnear is something of an anomaly in Hollywood, a true movie star who has somehow avoided the tabloids, the controversies, and the gossip columns. Surf around his IMDb page, and it's hard to believe all that he's done with some of the biggest actors in the game, from movies to stage to TV, and he's done it for decades. I met Greg back in the 90s. I was working for NBC in Tucson, Arizona. He had gone to the University of Arizona, so we had a number of friends in common. His star was rising quickly back then. He had hosted Talk Soup. He replaced Bob Costas on NBC's Later, hosted Saturday Night Live, and then there were all the movies. Sabrina, As Good as It Gets, which earned him an Academy Award nomination, You've Got Mail, Little Miss Sunshine, and on and on and on. Greg was born a couple of hours from Chicago in Logansport, Indiana, and to this day, he still follows the Cubs. In this episode of Chicago Unscripted, we go back to the beginning, his detour to war-torn Beirut as a kid with his dad, who was a State Department diplomat, his degree in broadcast journalism, and how he ended up shifting gears to acting. We talk about the popularity of streaming and how it has changed the landscape in Hollywood, not to mention AI, which he has some thoughts and concerns about, too. His latest series is called Smoke. It's available now on Apple TV. We get into that, plus his two favorite movies of all time and his favorite movies he's been in, plus his favorite TV shows, including his appearance in two classic series finales. He is a unique and humble talent with a sarcastic and effortless sense of humor. You'll hear that as we recount a few road trips we've been on, from the Final Four to the Oregon golf mecca of Bandon Dunes. Here's Greg Kinnear. G-Man, it's been way too long. How are you?
Joe Donlan, ladies and gentlemen, live in the Chicago area. I am just a benefactor of this man's greatness, known him for many years, an incredible human being, a golfer, and a all-around great family man. Hello, Joe.
I'm supposed to be introducing you, man. What was that?
How about that? Gee, he wrote that for me, folks.
Right. No, you're like, I think now that I think back a year into this, I think you're the first bona fide movie star we've had on the show.
Oh boy, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Really?
I have been in movies, and
lots of them.
Yes, I have been in some movies. It's true.
Big movies.
It's true.
I mean, and look at you. You're like Dick Clark. You never age.
Yeah. Well, the glasses don't help. I'll take those off because that makes me look. My wife says, "Get the glasses off." They add another 10 years.
Well, let's start. I don't even mean you're a friend of mine, and I can't keep up with all you're doing. You are a year younger than me. Let's point that out. But you haven't slowed down at all, Greg.
Feels like a decade younger than you, Joe. But I haven't. I have. You know, it's funny because I started in the talk show space and, Talk Soup and all that stuff where it was a day and date life where you would go in and you have to hit the show every single day. And honestly, when I became an actor, I mean, one of the biggest adjustments was kind of the on and off switch. And I remember, actor telling me, he goes, I idle pretty well. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. The idea of being able to idle periodically, because part of what we do is as actors is not only act, but wait to act. You wait when you're on set, you wait for the right script, you wait for the right opportunity. So it's kind of a different life than the broadcast day and day, but I it's on and off, but it's been okay the last few years.
Yeah, let's start with the latest project that's out anyway, and that's Smoke. I just wrapped it. It's a good thriller. What was it like for you to do that? You had a great cast. Edgerton was great, and you had some great scenes with Leguizamo. I thought you guys were great back and forth.
Well, it was honestly, it was just a chance to work with my buddy Dennis Lehane again, who is an incredible guy, really talented. First and first and foremost, he's a great novelist. If you're looking for some great post-summer reads, this guy is just repeatedly hit it out of the park. Has a book out right now called Little Mercies, which is amazing. And we had done a show called Blackbird a few years ago with Paul Walter Hauser and Taron Egerton, and it was a great cast, great experience. Shot it down in New Orleans and captured this life of this guy Jimmy Keene, and I just thought, it was an incredible group to work with. The great Ray Liotta, we lost him obviously after we finished the show, but it was a great experience. So loved that show. And Dennis, reached out and said, look, I got another show that I'm doing. This one was taking place in the world of arson and fire. It's based on a podcast. And Taron is also in the show, Journey Smollett, Leguizamo, a lot of great actors.
Well, the other one, too, really stood out to me was Intare Guma and Maho and Wene. And he's also in Dexter Resurrection now. But he really kind of stole the show in Smoke.
He's amazing. And by the way, one of the nicest guys ever. I mean, he's such a sweetheart. And that's a really tricky role. I mean, it's a horrible thing to watch somebody kind of burning from the inside, to use a metaphor, I guess. And he really does an amazing job with the role. And look, Dennis is a great writer. And at the end of the day, the life of an actor is to try to find good material to perform, good words, good scenes, good action, and good stories. And he is he's just a cut above the rest.
Are you able to hang out with some of these guys on set, these folks that you're working with, or do people tend to stay to themselves? Like, are you able to hang out with Intare and chat and catch up and get to know them?
I'm usually removed from set by security shortly after I finish my work. Nobody, that's a kind of a built-in clause that other actors have requested. No, yes, yes, you do find yourself in plenty of time to get to know people and talk to them, and it's a slow process. I mean, these shows are, that's I think an 8-part series on Apple TV, and I did it over the course of 5 or 6 months. So to get through that amount of work, you can imagine the days. Now, look, it's not, I don't star in that show. I'm in it, but I'm kind of back and forth a little bit. We shot it in Vancouver, so I was able to kind of live. I could come home for, a week, and then I'd go back up for a week and kind of go back and forth. But the point is, when you're on set, it is, it's a great chance and great opportunity to meet people, and there were some good folks to hang out with on that.
You mentioned Apple TV. I'm wondering how you feel about what streaming has done to the game, I guess, how it's impacted Hollywood. Because Smoke could have been, a great 1.5, 2-hour movie, but nowadays that's not how it works. How do you think streaming has changed what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for sure. I think 30 years ago, 20 years ago, Smoke probably would have been, if they were going to do this, a film. I guess it's, in some ways, I think we've all benefited from kind of long form storytelling in terms of both making it and in terms of the viewer. I think there's just, in certain cases, it's really hard to tell a full story in 120 minutes.
Right.
And in cases like those and in so many other streaming, series, you really can, you can lay out the whole story, get a chance to really dig into it and feel it and watch it. So sometimes it works. Sometimes, let's be honest, you're watching an 8-hour movie and you're like, good God, I wish this were an 1.5 hours long. So, I mean, it works both ways.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think it depends on what it obviously depends on what the story is that you're telling, and good storytellers kind of know how to what fits what size. But I don't know. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to it, but there's no question that I've been around long enough to watch, pretty massive changes to everything that is going on out here.
Right.
It's breakneck pace. And, I was reading yesterday, I think in the Wall Street Journal, that there is a company that is going to do an AI animated film. They have roughly $30 million. Normally, by the way, this would take, 100 million plus. They got $30 million, all AI, and they're going to do it in 9 months as opposed to the usual process, which is about 3 or 4 years. So that gets my attention, not for me I'm not in the animated business, but,
well, you did do one of those movies. What was
I did. I did. The robots.
Right.
They ratchet. Horrible robot. But, it is kind of amazing that this is gets my attention because I'm like, I know this is coming. We all do, right? This AI thing is for real. You can see the images and the things that are created, on your phone and, just spinning out. So there's something coming down the tracks, and how this is going to ultimately affect everybody in the business, I don't think anybody knows. I think there's a little paralyzation. There's no question that there's a great reduction in the amount of, production that's being made, certainly in the United States, but even more so just in general. So there's something happening, and I don't quite know what it is, but I have a hunch it's not good.
Yes, I know. Well, that's I feel the same way in broadcast and journalism as well. I think there's going to be a role, clearly. But you wonder, is it, going to be from a script writing standpoint? How do you worry that it might have a negative impact on Hollywood?
Well, a negative impact on me is the Greg Kinnear AI that I have to look at someday and say, damn, that guy does it just like I would do it, only better. I guess at the end of the day, the negative impact is, listen, I'm lucky because even though I'm considerably younger than you, we covered that earlier. I am a little older in the business, and you take somebody who's really like a young person like me trying to get in this business, at 30 years old, and just I don't know. I mean, as I said, I started in broadcasting, and I think that will be the first thing that we'll see, notable change will be kind of in the hosting, in that kind of capacity. And then you get past that. And then I think you do get into the arts and everything else. So it's coming, and we know it is. So I think there'll be some benefits. I think it'll yield some amazing things apparently out in Las Vegas. If you go to the Sphere and you don't want to spend $3,000 on a ticket to watch Kenny Chesney drink beer and sing some songs, you can now go and watch The Wizard of Oz for $125, a little more manageable economically. And it's supposed to be an incredible show, augmented through AI. It's supposed to be like an amazing thing. So I don't know that anybody has the script on where this is going, but it's definitely going somewhere.
All right, let's talk about. I just wanted to get you on the pod because you're always fun to chat with. But I'm sure you have.
Told me I'm not fun to chat with. You specifically told me I'm not fun to chat with. Now you say I am.
When did I say that? Come on, we've been through some. I still remember going to the Final Four with you in Indianapolis, which is from your old stomping grounds in '97 when the Arizona Wildcats won it all. And we were out at some bar till some ungodly. And then we ended up at like a Steak and Shake until 5 a.m. And then I had to get up and cover like a pep rally at 7 or 8. And you guys all slept till noon.
I think that's true. And I definitely, I think it was White Castle, as I recall.
Well, I think it was. You're right.
We ended at White Castle. And it was an epic evening. And I got to hand it to Joe Donlan, ladies and gentlemen. This guy went tit for tat with the boys. Went deep. And yes, indeed, you were, you kept saying as every hour ticked by, guys, I got to be at work in like 7 hours. Hey, guys, I got to be at work at 6 hours. Guys, I got to be at work in 2 hours.
And then it was, I got to be at work right now, I think. Basically is how it went. But that was a great weekend. What what an experience that was, and really kind of unexpected for the Cats. But my gosh, you're really, I mean, in that role, one of the big celeb U of A alums. And I wanted to ask you about that, but let's go back before, because I want to talk about your humble beginnings in the Midwest and how your dad was a State Department diplomat and how you spent, at least as I understand it, a year when you were 12 or 13 in Lebanon, right? So tell me what that was like and how that sort of shaped your political engagement.
Well, I was in Indiana as a kid until I was, I guess, I don't know, until I was like 9 years old. My dad had a vending business with his father and ran some other businesses. My dad, ended up getting a job because his brother was working in D.C., ended up getting an opportunity to go to Washington and work in the Commerce Department. And he took that gig, which was a big change at that age for me. And then 3 years later, he got a diplomatic assignment to Beirut, Lebanon. We went to Beirut in, I guess, 1975, and it was lovely when we got there, and it was a shit show when we left. Mm-hmm. Leave it to the Kinnears. We really, it really was quite beautiful when we arrived. I've heard, people will say Beirut, Lebanon, Paris of the Middle East. I did not see Paris, but I did see a beautiful country, and the people were lovely. But slowly but surely, this war started to, rear its head. And, we were living in a civil war. And it started with just a few pops at night here and there, a couple of explosions. The acting ambassador and the number 2 guy at the embassy were taken out. They were kidnapped out of their cars and shot at point blank range, left on the beach, killed. And, this stuff. A very good friend of mine's father was, I believe, CIA. He was kidnapped. He'd be held for 6 years. Terrible story.
Now, this is while you were there and on the tail end of it?
Yes. So this was really this was 7 months or 8 months of just crazy shit all packed into a very compressed, tight period of time. And honestly, if you ask me, well, God, was it scary? Were you freaked out? I was like 12. So no, I didn't, the idea of your mortality is not really even developed at that point. Not that I thought it was cool. I mean, I'd much rather be able to go to school than have another canceled day, and not because of snow, by the way, because of firing. Right. So it was sort of like really a disappointing. I mean, it was very, very tough and very disappointing to watch this situation just kind of get worse. Eventually, my dad stayed behind to shut down the embassy, but my mom and brother, and I, we split off for Athens.
Athens, yeah.
And I still remember we had to go out through the PLO camps to get to Beirut International Airport. You had to go through the PLO camps, and, they were stopped the buses. We had like 400 or 500 dependents are on these buses out there. They stop the bus, guys get on armed. And it was the only time I ever saw my mom, who is a tough cookie, scared. I remember thinking, what's big, and then looking at her and saying, it's kind of like when you're flying and you're nervous, and all of a sudden you look at the stewardess and all of a sudden they look nervous. Yeah. It's like, oh shit. Uh-oh. So I remember looking at my mom and thinking, oh wow, she's really shaken up here. So we got through that, and we got out to the tarmac, and there were 3 beautiful 747 TWAs lined up, ready to, they just said, get in whichever one you want. And we all did, and we were evacuated to we touched down 90 minutes later in Athens. And my dad got reassigned to the embassy there, and that became a big part of my life. I was there for 6 years. I graduated high school there, and had great friends from there to this day. So it all worked out, but it was a crazy experience.
Let's talk about this. The show's called Chicago Unscripted, Greg. So when you and I first talked about this,
here we go.
You told me you had some connection. What was your connection here? Have you filmed movies here? What's your tie?
Okay. So, to Chicago. I am from Indiana. I'm from a little town called Logansport, just about 2 hours down the road from you there. It's lovely, a lot of manure areas if you drive from there up to Chicago. So just be aware of that.
Okay.
But Logansport was a cool little town to grow up in. And you know, I had, what did we have? I guess because we were there, the only baseball team I could root for was the Cubs.
Oh, okay.
So I still, you know, I still keep my eye on the Cubbies and have been back a few times. I did something there. I did like, Paramount did a Twilight Zone series, and it was, I don't know, I did an episode there or something. So it was kind of cool to be back in Chicago for a few days and check it out and work there and see it. I froze my ass off. It was like March. And I was like, what is March? It's supposed to be.
I thought you were telling me it was July, you know.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize. I had forgotten the math of how the Midwest works. March? Are you kidding us? March?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
You know, add 4 months and then call us back, you know, if you're looking for, you know, warm weather.
All right, so let's skip forward to post Greece, and you're there. I guess as I understand it, that's where you kind of got the bug, and you hosted a show. Is that where you hosted? What's it called? School Days with Greg Kinnear. That was in Athens where you started that?
Yes, and I don't like the smirk, Joe. It was a very important show.
I'm sure it was great. I'm not smirking.
A lot of people thought I was pretty cool spending the day in Athens at the American Air Force Base there. I followed Casey Kasem. Hello and welcome back to American Top 40. I'm Casey Kasem in Hollywood. Moving up this week to a song written by Joe. I could go on and on.
Keep reaching for the stars. Wasn't that his line?
Yeah, there you go. That's right. And Joanne, what was it? Keep reaching. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
And then there's the long distance dedication. You remember the outtake where he just lost his mind?
I love that. Snuggles.
Snuggles.
Can I get an answer to say? I mean, there's a few of these, right, that exist in shows.
Oh, yeah.
Or we're just like somebody who is on camera.
Well, there's the Bill O'Reilly as well. We'll do it live.
If you haven't heard Casey Kasem just lose it, please stop what you're doing and go listen to that because it's a tremendous story. I'm obsessed with Casey Kasem. I followed him on this show, and I really believe that it's I feel like there's a movie there. I mean, like after he, it's kind of morbid, but
I know, right?
Life,
yeah.
And then he passed away, and then the kids were trying to find Casey. The mom, Jean, had the Casey somewhere, and they couldn't get Casey.
Right.
So it's, but he was an incredible broadcaster and just had, honestly, because he didn't have, it's not like he was the guy, it's not like he had a face for broadcasting. So he really did he had that voice, and that voice was just solid gold. Really amazing.
So how did you end up at the U of A coming back from Greece?
I went there because my brothers had gone there, and I was, some would say that the history of Greg Kinnear was not an excellent scholastic achiever. And I was over in Greece, and I was just like, I remember thinking all of a sudden I had the counselors like, where are you going to go to college? And I was going to say, what now? Where are you going to college? And I just hadn't thought this through very much.
No.
And the truth is we were from there. We weren't from there. That's where you had to claim your residency, right? So we had been in Indiana. My father's father was in Arizona. My dad decided when he retired, he was going to move back to Arizona. So I think I was just like, well, my brothers are there. I think my dad liked the state tuition situation and had no problem in that scenario. And the truth is, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have, I felt so far removed from the States and what I was going to do that I just wanted to get back and get some semblance of my feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And I got back, And I just felt like go to college, get at Arizona, and I'll figure something out. And honestly, it's just like it's a salmon just swimming through the current, trying to find a way out. And I'm still doing it.
Well, you majored in journalism. What were you thinking? You wanted to?
I actually I did start as a drama major.
Okay.
There was a drama department there, and I had a drama beat teacher say, like less than 1% of you are ever going to make a living doing this, just so you know. And I thought, okay, well, that's a good reason to drop out of this and switch over to something else. And I don't know, somebody there had said, what about journalism? And I'll tell you, when I lived when I was in Europe, and I was in Greece, I did follow the news, and I was quite intrigued with, the news on the hour. And I thought, I thought that life might be interesting. Turns out, and you can talk about this, it's a horrible life, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to get anywhere near it. But
you got out while the getting was good.
No, but I was like, I thought that would be, that would be a real possible interesting avenue.
But I'm wondering how you got from journalism to where you were. Like the first break for you was Talk Soup, wasn't it?
Before that, Joe, I kind of came out and was, I first got out of college and I came out here and I was honestly just not really sure what I was going to do. I ended up working at a, low budget film company and just kind of doing marketing. And I ended up, because I was out here and because it was the 80s and the world was who knew that the 80s were the more going to be the sane decade, but it was, things were quieter, and I don't know, there was some cable channels starting up, and there was a thing called Movie Time starting up. And before it was called Movie Time. It was a channel that would look at, whatever clips they could get, anything free. We ran trailers or anything else. And I ended up getting a job there hosting, every day. And I did that for like 3 years. And I didn't, it was almost like pro bono work, but I took it, and it put me in front of a camera. It was like a great experience. I don't know where that business has gone. I think that business has moved now to podcasts and people doing stuff themselves. And you watch the creativity that's being, done on YouTube, and what people are able to do with their flipping iPhone is amazing to me.
Yeah.
So for people who want to create and find ways to be in this business, I'm always like, well, it's pretty much, if you've got a phone and you've and a computer, there's a lot more opportunity actually for you today than you ever had before. A lot more competition for sure, but you have your avenue. Any rate, I did that for like 3 years. And then after that, I went and I created a show for Fox and did a couple of other things. Talk Soup came after that. So I did Talk Soup kind of my late 20s to my early 30s. So people think that like I came out here and just started that. It was quite a few years of other stuff before I did that.
But Talk Soup is what elevated you really to, that was the first time.
It's the first thing where we had an audience. Yeah.
Right.
It was the first thing I ever did where like a producer came running in and said, people are actually watching this show.
Yeah.
And up to that point, I had a career in people not watching anything that I did. So that was a shock.
No, I know the feeling. I know that.
but hey, you take it what you take it.
That show was really ahead of its time, though, Greg, and it was perfect for you because it was kind of snarky and kind of smart ass to begin with, right? But it really, in a way, was sort of social media before social media.
Yeah. I wish I had kept my Talk Soup broadcasts. My wife's always, she's like, how did you manage to lose these? And I never kept track of them. I don't know where
they don't exist anywhere.
I don't think they exist. I think there's a few that have popped up, like clips here and there, but there's not a lot. Be careful what you ask for. I'd probably watch and be like, oh my God.
Oh man, I burned all my early stuff. It's so bad.
But they could never rebroadcast those because, it was a clearance nightmare because you had all these people
Right.
had to be cleared. Although in a way, clearances are like a laughable thing now. When you look at the internet and what's regurgitated onto the internet these days, I'm like, who's clearing what? Does anybody care? Whatever. But at any rate, it was a great show to start with. We started actually very seriously. People don't realize Talk Soup, E's version of Talk Soup, was going to be a serious look at daytime television. And very quickly, I did that for about 3 days, and I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
We've got to lean into what's really happening in front of us here. And we just got goofier and goofier with it. It's a great group of people to work with and a very good, opportunity for me.
So that leads you to later with Greg Kinnear, and I'll never forget the story you told me. It was at a U of A football game. I remember we were watching, it was the U of A Arizona State, and I was talking to you about this opportunity that I had in Portland, and you were telling me how you got that gig with Later and the whole audition process. Do you remember that?
I don't remember what I told you.
And I'm older than you, right? That's what you're telling
older than me, so obviously I'm nervous about your version of things.
Well, I'll prompt you. You told me that they called and were they kept hounding you to do an audition.
Correct.
And you said, or your agent said, no.
Me. I said no. My agent.
All right, tell the story.
Like, the agent was like, "Get in there, you idiot!" And I was like, "No, I did." Yeah, no.
You're following Bob Costas at this point, right?
Bob Costas was doing the show. NBC was, they had, went at that point. You had Jay Leno, and then Conan had just started his broadcast at NBC, and Bob was on at 1:30 in the morning. You get your smokers and your tokers, and they were looking to fill that spot. So yeah, I got the call, and then they just said, "Listen, you all you got to do is come in and audition." And I just didn't want to do that. I honestly, I felt like I was like, if you want to see me audition, you turn on Talk Soup. You can see what I'm doing. And I didn't know what I would do differently. I guess in fairness, they were probably right. Sitting down and talking to somebody is differently than looking at making fun of a Jerry Springer clip, entirely different thing. Plus they wanted to use a live studio audience. I didn't want to do that. So it was much more of they were building out a little mini talk show, and they wanted to see, listen, I guess how I would be in that environment. And, it's a big thing to hire somebody for these networks. And they were always, they wanted to be careful. So, they asked me to try that out, to come and try out audition. I just felt like if they want me to do it, they'll let me do it. It's okay. It doesn't matter. If I didn't, honestly, I wasn't so enthralled with the idea. If I had really been enthralled with the idea, I would have been there in a second. I ended up, when Sidney Pollack asked me to audition for Sabrina, boom, I was in his office. I was there, and I was, reading scenes opposite Sidney for that role with him playing Sabrina, for God's sake. I don't think this is like a thing where I won't stoop to anything. With the whole NBC thing, I was like, well, we'll see. And then at some point they made the offer, and I ended up doing it. So
how did that happen for you, Greg? I mean, I look back at your career, and you get a degree in broadcast journalism. I didn't realize that you had started in the drama department, but you really didn't have any formal training. And here you are now, you're trading lines with Harrison Ford, for crying out loud.
There's a lot of actors. There's a lot of actors who have no formal training, and a lot of really good actors. And I don't say that just to cover myself. It's true. And, it's an odd and unusual, obviously, vocation, and people find, the ability, or the, the way into doing this a million different ways. There's so many stories of people who were, driving cabs or, waiting tables. Maybe they took a few acting classes and, but not everybody was, came from the deep, theater, acting school discipline in order to find a way into this business. And certainly I wasn't one of those.
Well, you're humble, obviously, but it really, I think, does speak to how naturally talented you are. And that showed for me when I was looking up when you hosted Saturday Night Live. This was back in '98.
Oh, I was horrible hosting Saturday Night Live.
No. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, my God.
One of the skits I found was the high five guy. You were with Will Ferrell. And I think it was Anna Gasteyer, I believe. But to me, that's where you shine because you're just so naturally funny. It was almost like forget the cue cards. You had the dialogue down and it was a laugh out loud skit.
You know what was awful about that? You're very nice to say that. I was terrible in this episode of Saturday Night Live. And like Saturday Night Live, you talk to anybody who's ever done Saturday Night Live, you talk to Alec Baldwin, he's done it 100 times, so you can't talk to him. But there's plenty of other people who've done it once, maybe twice. If you've done it twice, you wish you'd done it 3 times. If you've done it 4 times, you wish you'd done it 5 times. You've done it once, you wish you'd at least done it twice. And in doing it, they're like, okay, well, listen, the important thing is you have to, Adam McKay, by the way, was it Adam? Adam was he was the head writer at that time, the great Adam. Such an excellent writer, and I ended up working with him in Anchorman 2 years later. Mm-hmm. And he's had such an incredible career. But he kept saying to me, "Just read the cue cards, Greg." And I was like, I can't just read the cue cards, dude. That's not acting. What are you talking about? And of course, what you learn after you've done it is all you do is read the cue cards. You don't want to think at all. You don't want to act. You just want to read the cue cards. But everybody learns this the hard way. And, usually after the fact. And I certainly did as well.
Well, I think back at, and I look back at your body of work and the caliber of actor you've worked with, Greg, from, Harrison Ford, we mentioned before, Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, Mel Gibson. You can go on and on. Nicole Kidman.
Helen Hunts. That's where Jack used to go. Helen Hunts.
Hunts? Well, you used to do a mean Jack impression. You still do that?
No, I don't. Helen Hunts. There you go. That's all I got.
But seriously, you were working with these guys right out of the gate. These were the biggest of the big in acting.
Yeah, a lot of really good actors, out of the gate and great actors. And yeah, I feel like, I've been very lucky in my, I was just doing a David Kelly series with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
Margot's Got Money Trouble. And it's got Elle Fanning and Nick Offerman is so excellent. And, listen, I feel like I generally have been really very fortunate in terms of being able to work with, really great people for a long time. And I never take that for granted. I never don't appreciate it. It's probably like, being an athlete and when you're on a court with somebody who's great is, you're watching Sinner and Alcaraz, this week. And I'm thinking, my gosh, you can see the respect for those guys. It's just so fun to get to work with good people when you can.
Little Miss Sunshine, Steve Carell. What would you say are your...
Steve Carell is the exception. He is not a good actor, as it turns out. But there are others on the list that we can talk about.
Speaking of which, how did you not end up through Second City or something like that? Was that ever a consideration for you?
Dude, I was just trying to pay the rent in my apartment in Van Nuys. I didn't know how to get to Second City. All right. There's that's Chicago.
Yeah. Ask Steve. He'll know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I remember you.
Honestly, I don't think I could have. I don't think I would have been at that time in my life. And I was really self-conscious and very shy. I think of people who do that, all of that improv and so kind of that's the people who come out of that Second City stuff. I always think of them as having some amazing gear at a young age that I really didn't have and never would have.
I disagree with that. I've seen you go off. I remember when you and I ran into you in New York City for something. I don't remember whether I was there what I was there covering, but you were there shooting a movie, and you and I were walking out of lunch, and I almost walked into a car crossing the street, and you broke right into this hilarious phone call to my wife, the fake call to my wife, as if I had just been hit by this car. And I'm like, this guy is just next level funny. Remember that?
Yeah, but you weren't actually hit by the car, were you?
I wasn't. I almost hit, and you were like,
I just want your viewers to know that Joe Donlin was not hurt in any way in this story, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but you broke right into Kathy. Listen, it's Greg Kinnear. Nothing serious, but listen, it's just. All right, couple questions on the way out, Greg. Top 3 movies, not that you've been in, but just in your opinion, your top 3 movies are what?
Groundhog Day, Apocalypse Now, and here we go. Let's wait for it. It's the final, and survey says, I don't know. I was going to say North by Northwest, but I watched it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it's a great movie. Is that one of my top 3? I don't know. I'm going to give you my top 2. I'm not going to give you my top 3.
All right, fair enough.
How about that? You don't get to run the podcast the way you want to run it.
Well, that's what happens when you've got a movie star on. The movie star runs the show. Top 2 movies that you've been in. Top 2 movies you were, I guess, maybe most proud of or that you like the most.
Probably Little Miss Sunshine and As Good as It Gets.
As what? As Good as It Gets, yeah. You know, and then pick a sleeper that you've been in, because I have my version.
Autofocus.
Oh, okay. That was the Bob Crane movie, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. He was way ahead of his time.
He was it's Paul Schrader, it's Willem Dafoe and me in a story about Bob Crane, who was the star of Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes, yeah.
Who had a little bit of an addiction problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Paul Schrader did an amazing job with that. Yeah.
The movie you did with Miley Cyrus was, I thought, really good.
The last song. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was not expecting to be,
You are such a big softie, Joe.
I cried at the end. Not going to lie.
You get around a Hallmark card and tears, but the waterworks, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. But listen, you've played the good guy, the bad guy, the gay guy, the tough guy, the funny guy. What do you like the most? What's your favorite thing to do?
I don't really have a favorite. I really don't. I honestly, I feel like at the end of the day that, the story kind of leads the way. Roles kind of jump out in a way when I read something. I'm like, that'd be fun to do. Or certainly who you're working with matters. And certainly, at times it's just, I love the script. I really think this is a cool script and I want to be a part of it. So I don't know that there's a one size fits all, it's kind of just, this is probably sounds like stock actor answer number 493, but I'm telling you, that's the truth. I think there's a myriad of things that kind of pull you in.
Yeah. Funniest actor you've worked with?
The funniest actor I've worked with?
Yeah.
You're asking me for the funniest actor I've worked with.
Yes.
You're asking me, Joe, who's the funniest actor I've worked with? I honestly, I don't know. I know the movie was not met with critical success, but Matt Damon and I were stuck together for 4 months in a movie called Stuck on You. And
oh, yeah.
Was funny as shit in that movie. He's really funny and great in it. Made me laugh a lot. Not an obvious answer, but I had a great experience with him. But I don't know. I've worked with a lot of funny actors, and it's honestly, we'll disconnect from this, and I'll be like, oh, what about this? So how about I just want to love. I love the world.
Yes, that's the answer. Well, look about it here. This will prompt you too, but you've worked on, my gosh, Modern Family, House of Cards. You had bits in Friends. Was there Curb? You were in Curb, right?
Courtney Cox. I love Courtney. I did a show with her called Shining Vale on HBO. Underrated. I just saw her the other night. She's such a talent.
Yeah.
Lovely to work with her. And yes, watching Larry in the last, Larry and I know him a little bit from golf, and I got to do the last finale. I got to do two of the last finales of two great shows. I got to do the finale of Larry Sanders, which will go down as one of my favorite shows of all time with the great Handling, and then Curb, right?
Yeah.
And Larry, I basically am the attorney who's trying to put Larry away, and just watching him riff was great fun. He's very good at it. Nobody better in that place in that role. It's just one in such a few.
Yeah. You still playing golf? You play with Larry?
I have played golf with many people, Joe. Very, very many people, and yourself included. People don't realize that if you go on a golf boondoggle with Joe Donlin from Oregon, and you were to go to a golf place, when you get in the car, he picks the playlist. He picks all the music, and he drives, and he kind of, he's in charge. You don't get any say whatsoever. And then when you get there, you realize that he's not a very good golfer. And
that might have had
remember that trip we took? That was awesome.
That's right. We went to Bandon Dunes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember Bandon Dunes.
Yeah, man, that's a spectacular
like being in Scotland for a few days.
Yes, exactly.
But I play a little bit, and I do get out there, and no kidding. We haven't seen each other, of course, for a while. I'm as bad as I've ever been, Joe. So,
well, I don't remember you being that. What's your handicap?
I'm a 9 index.
That's good. That's good. I mean, that's about where I am. Was I that bad that weekend? That might have been all the scotch we were drinking.
No, I'm kidding. You were just fine. And the truth is, I'm much better than a 9 now, so I would be much better than you.
Yes, you would be.
It feels like a rematch is being cooked up here, ladies.
It's cooked
live
up.
On the pod.
All right, G-Man, listen, I know we're up against the clock here. I told you I wouldn't keep you this long, but I knew it would fly by. It's great to catch up with you. Thanks for the time. We'll look for Margot's Got Money Troubles coming out soon. In the meantime, you can see him in Smoke, which is a great, great series on Apple TV. G-Man, thanks, buddy.
Joe, excellent to see you. Thank you for having me on, and absolutely loved it. We'll do it again.
Greg, thanks again. My thanks to Greg. What a ride it has been for him, and he is still going strong. Our audio engineer is Brian Griggs from Brian Griggs Productions. The original theme music provided by Chicago vibraphonist Thaddeus Tukes. My thanks to the legendary voice on the way in each episode. That's Bill Curtis. I'm Joe Donlin. We will see you on CBS News Chicago. It's available everywhere on the CBS News app. And as always, I thank you for listening to Chicago Unscripted.